benefits. That's an extra $175 per month, a big boost for many, but experts warn it could put some seniors in higher tax brackets, decrease other benefits based on income levels, and in some instances lead to penalties if you don't withhold enough money.
Relatively flat, up about 100 points. Stocks trending a little bit up amid stimulus package hopes. The White House and Democrats in Congress are pushing forward with plans for a nearly $2 trillion stimulus package. Lawmakers could start voting on this as soon as next week. Both the Federal Reserve and the Biden administration have been...
So Republican lawmakers in the House are now pushing for permanent tax cuts. The Republicans have actually proposed several changes, everybody, that may negatively impact the economy. And the Federal Reserve has just announced its new plan to tackle inflation and the rising cost of necessities, including gas and groceries. More relief may actually be coming soon in the form of stimulus relief debit cards. And now, House Republicans on the Ways and Means Committee are also seeking to make the tax cuts and adjustments enacted in the 2017 overhaul of the tax system permanent. It's a move economists would say actually going to stimulate the economy, and at the same time, the Federal Reserve is trying to rein against a 40-year high inflation. But can it be done? Well, everybody wants to know. So, another measure proposed by representatives and senators is going to allow machinery costs to be written off as a tax deduction when they're purchased. So economists say that cutting taxes and increasing the deficit at a time when President in-person-assisted inflation needs to be tamed will only add to the fuel of price increases. Altogether, everybody, tax cuts in 2017 laws added $1 trillion in government debt through 2028. And when asked whether the cuts will add to inflation, and Republicans are working on opposition on this to help so many people across the state. So the governor, everybody, Janet Mills, approved the distribution of the checks in April with the total cost of the stimulus payments estimated to be around $730 million. To qualify, applicants must have lived in the state for a full year and must have filed their taxes in 2021 by October 31st in order to receive the money. Eligible applicants must make less than $100,000 annually if filing individually or $200,000 if filing jointly. That's all according to the governor's office. However, dependents are not eligible for the payments, and residents of Virginia only have a matter of days to file the necessary paperwork in order to claim the missing stimulus money. So be sure to act now and be sure to act quick in order to receive your stimulus checks. To the Federal Reserve's monetary policy, well, the Republicans said that economic conditions were improved by the moves in 2017. And data from the labor market released department earlier this week showed that inflation has remained above 8% for 7 months in a row. The Federal Reserve, in response, has raised the interest rates to slow economic activity and bring prices down. During a recent meeting, the Federal Reserve said that slower economic growth is specifically going to help inflation calm down. A study published by the San Francisco Federal Reserve found that current inflation is caused more by supply factors than demand factors. Analysts say that over a long span of time, some of the proposed tax cut extensions could be deflationary, but that the prospect of a recession may complicate those effects. Now, California, everybody, is already sending out millions of more money to millions of more people in the state. The payments which started going out in the last 7th of the last month range from $200 to $1,000 depending on income and other factors. About 18 million payments will be distributed over the next few months. That's benefiting up to 23 million Californians. The cash payouts are part of a June budget deal, and to be eligible, you need to have filed a 2020 tax return by October 15th. And there's an exception for people who did not file by the October deadline because they were waiting on individuals' tax and payer identification number. Unfortunately, everybody, people who didn't file taxes for 2020, including seniors and disabled people, were left out. People who can be claimed as dependents for tax purposes won't get their own payments either. The payments also won't go to married or domestic partners who have an adjusted gross income over $500,000. Some goes for individuals who have an AGI over $250,000. You have to be a California resident for at least 6 months of 2020 in order to receive the stimulus payment. Not only that, folks, but listen to this. Maine residents have 4 days to claim up to $850 in.
Let me ask you, you've been asked a million different ways about Social Security. You know the Democrats want to bring this issue up. Sunsetting the program every 5 years for renewal. Why do that? Why?
He didn't pay his taxes.
Senator, you're playing a math game here. You're playing a math game. They didn't cut anything on Medicare. It's cost savings having to do with the prescription drug. Look, I understand that you want to call it something else, but
Chuck, if you cut spending in Medicare, it's probably going to impact the ability for somebody to provide things.
Everybody, here is some breaking news about the stimulus payments from President Biden. President Biden has something for the American people right now, or people are in some big trouble. Now, we know this. Congress has taken action on stimulus payments. It comes as they address and several issues that millions of Social Security, SSI, and SSDI recipients are facing. Joe Manchin is actually urging the Democrats and Republicans just come to an agreement very fast. Some seniors, though, may end up receiving bigger monthly checks than expected. Now, folks, Joe Manchin is calling for broad bipartisan deals to protect the solvency of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, popular programs that face serious funding issues over the next few decades. During a conference, Manchin said we can't keep living with crippling debt. We have to look at the trust funds that are going bankrupt, whether it be Medicare, Medicaid, or just Social Security. They're a tremendous problem right now. You heard that right, folks. Joe Biden actually said that Joe Manchin might cancel Social Security. Manchin also stated if we can't come to grips of how to face the financial challenge that the country has, we're going to be paying a price that we can't afford. So Manchin, who's saying Biden's ambitious $3 trillion Build Back Better agenda in December, has often talked about the financial challenges facing Social Security and Medicaid. The Social Security Administration announced last year that it's just not projected to have the funds to pay for the full benefits past 2033. In February, Manchin proposed addressing the shortfall by increasing the amount of income subject to taxation. It'll be done to fund Social Security from $147,000 to $400,000. Manchin also pushed against Senate Budget Committee Bernie Sanders' effort to expand Medicare to include vision, dental, and hearing benefits. He argued that the core program itself was in danger because of the soaring federal debt. So if Manchin continues to push for bipartisan deals to shore up the finances of Social Security and Medicare, he could have a negotiating partner in Mitch McConnell, who has just proposed broad entitlement reform on several previous occasions. After Republicans held the Senate majority in the 2014 midterm election, McConnell decried that what he called the unsustainable growth rate of Social Security and Medicare, and warned we need to make adjustments to these popular programs or they won't be there in the next generation. If you guys don't remember, back in 2018, Republicans controlled the White House, and McConnell said back then that spending was the main driver of the federal deficit. And now Manchin just jumped on this. He said it's a bipartisan problem. Unwillingness to address the real drivers of the debt by doing anything to adjust those programs to the demographics of America in the future. Biden said that 16 million Americans who applied for the student loan debt program are going to be approved by the end of the week. It's just the last step before they begin receiving forgiveness checks. During an event in New Mexico, Biden said, by the end of the week, the Department of Education will have approved applications of 16 million Americans into the paperwork to student loan servicers, the last step before people can receive the money. A legal ruling has actually halted the administration from dispersing relief, while a federal appeals court actually considers a challenge from 6 Republican-led states. Now, Biden previously stated that checks would arrive in coming weeks, and that his administration was going to win the court case. The plan is to forgive up to $10,000 in student loan debt from borrowers earning under $125,000. Joe Biden has touted the program despite